From a bar that closed because of its involvement with drug trafficking to a bar that closed because of public health standards, here's what happened to the bars Jon Taffer couldn't save. Starting with Russell City Grill, which was a sports bar in Hayward, California, opened by Lee Bellet. Lee was a construction worker who used money inherited from his late mother, along with a massive loan from his father, to fulfill his lifelong dream of owning a bar.
And his father is funding his losses. Are you ready? $15,000 a month this guy's losing. Wow.
However, the dream quickly turned into a nightmare because Lee had no experience running a bar, and he allowed his friends to treat the place like their own personal clubhouse.
Lee has several friends that come in here.
Pour Roy 1, 2.
Pour everybody a shot.
If you're gonna order something, Lee wants to give it to you for free.
They don't pay for the and they don't tip.
His friends, particularly a man named Church, would regularly disrespect the staff, demand free drinks.
Church, I seen you behind this bar a couple of times pouring your shot after Lee left.
And even go behind the bar when he wasn't even supposed to be there.
Oh my God, Church, don't already start though.
So Church doesn't even work here, walks behind the bar.
Oh, no.
Hey, excuse me. You ain't even talking back here in the first place, right?
Because Lee refused to stand up to his friends or manage his staff, the bar was losing around $15,000 a month, leaving him more than $280,000 in debt and desperate for Jon Taffer's help.
My dad loaned me over $100,000 to help me keep afloat.
Yeah, I don't want you to feel like I let you down, so I'm working on it. I'm gonna try it, Dad.
When Jon arrived with his team, they immediately saw the chaos.
You owe this as old as
Wow.
We're playing that. No. I ain't got no problem taking my belt off. I take my belt off too.
The bartenders were taking more shots than the customers, and the kitchen was a complete disaster, with raw food being served.
The chicken's raw. They're sending it back.
Sherry, this is not cooked.
And a massive grease trap fire hazard.
Grease. And there's grease dripping all down the stove. No, it's the flat top. So that
where
means
is that coming from?
the grease trap is filled, which is a fire hazard.
But the real breaking point came during recon, when Church continued to harass and disrespect the bartenders.
Wait, Church, you can't be coming back here right now though. Seriously, Church.
You're about to make me hit him.
This led to a massive all-out brawl that forced Jon to call the police and shut the bar down.
Hey, whoa! Hey, whoa!
You bleeding, go in the bathroom.
So he's bleeding.
Just break him up.
This is not a fight anymore. This is now a war. Oh, police unit at those lights going, that's what'll calm him down.
Exactly.
Despite Lee's weak leadership, Jon managed to completely transform the failing dive bar into Fog Line Bar and Grill.
This is amazing.
Creating a clean, professional environment for local blue-collar workers. The relaunch was a success, and it seemed like Lee finally had the tools to save his business.
Welcome to Fog Line. We're open.
However, the new professional environment didn't last long because Lee decided to use his newly renovated bar to meet with a drug dealer who was really an undercover DEA informant. He openly boasted about smuggling bricks of narcotics to Philadelphia, Ohio, and Miami, saying, "I had a connect. I'd run 10 bricks to Philly, 10 bricks to Ohio, and 10 bricks of China White to Miami," and even used the bar's new reputation to facilitate a sham cocaine deal through the San Francisco airport. Lee's terrible decisions finally caught up with him, and he was convicted of aiding and abetting narcotics distribution, earning him a 10-year sentence in federal prison. Unsurprisingly, the Fog Line Bar and Grill was permanently closed in disgrace. While Lee Bellet lost his bar because he chose a life of crime, the next bar on this list failed because the owner simply never bothered to show up. Corner Pocket 2 is a billiards bar in Hickory, North Carolina, owned by Carlos Walker, who bought the business hoping for a solid investment. Carlos was also a single father, and the responsibilities that came with that meant that he was rarely seen at the bar.
So I'm a single father. I have 5 kids and 7 grandkids, so I'm not able to go to the bar a lot.
As an absentee owner, Carlos left the bar in the hands of Candy, a former school teacher with no real leadership skills. And because Carlos wasn't there to manage them, the bar was in complete freefall. Pretty much every piece of equipment was falling apart.
Everything that's broken in here, our dishwasher's broke. The plumbing and everything is really bad through here. Our flat top, I think both sides don't work. Our draft system, it pours really weird.
And the poorly trained staff struggled to keep up.
No one at Corner Pocket 2 really has been properly trained.
Because of this lack of control, the bar was bleeding about $5,000 every single month, leaving Carlos roughly $150,000 in debt.
Probably right at 150,000.
150 grand, that's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yes.
Are you losing money?
Yeah.
So could you lose 3,000 in a month?
Yes.
4?
Possibly.
When Jon Taffer and his team arrived, he immediately saw the results of Carlos's neglect.
The bar is disgusting with fruit flies. Vic, look at those plastic containers. Look at that.
Oh, he got crust.
What does that have? Buffalo sauce or something? That's disgusting.
The bartenders were overwhelmed, the service was terrible, and things only got worse when Jon inspected the kitchen. He was absolutely disgusted to find cockroaches crawling near the food and grease covering almost every surface.
Look at that cockroach. See that? Walking right across the counter there.
In the kitchen.
After a tense confrontation where Jon showed Carlos the terrible state of his bar, how little his staff cared for his business, as well as the consequences of his own absence, the rescue moved forward. Jon cleaned out the pest infestation, trained the staff, and completely rebranded a dive into a community-focused venue called the Gateway Pub and Grill. The relaunch was a success, and it seemed like Carlos was finally ready to be a real boss.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Oh my God, look at this. Look at the tables.
Everyone come in. Welcome to the Gateway Pub and Grill. Big C.
However, old habits die hard, and once Jon and the cameras left, Carlos went back to his old ways and stopped showing up to manage the bar. Without his presence, the new community's focus collapsed, and the bar quickly became a magnet for severe crime. Things spiraled completely out of control, resulting in over 250 calls for service to the location, tragically culminating in an officer getting shot 2 times right in the bar's parking lot. Because of the extreme danger the bar posed to the community, the state stepped in and suspended its liquor permits, immediately killing the business. But while Corner Pocket 2 failed because the owner refused to be present, the next bar on this list failed because the owner couldn't handle the most basic paperwork. Liquid Lounge was a dive bar in Long Beach, California, owned by Rob McCarthy, who let his bar slowly fall apart because he completely checked out of the business.
What's stopping this place from being successful is Rob. Rob's just a nice guy, to a fault. He's just so nonchalant about everything. He procrastinates, he puts everything off. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed.
As an entirely passive owner, Rob avoided dealing with problems or angry customers, leaving his loyal staff to fend for themselves in a bar that was practically rotting away. Because of his total lack of effort, the bar was deeply in debt and only months away from closing for good.
I put my entire life savings in here, over $400,000. I have at least 6 months of checks not cashed for myself.
When Jon Taffer arrived, he found a staff struggling with bad drinks and a filthy rundown kitchen, but the most shocking discovery came when he inspected the dining area. Jon found a crack in the wall, and it was crawling with ants. The bar was suffering from a horrifying insect infestation, and exterminators later confirmed that the ants were attempting to take over the entire building. During a tense confrontation, Jon screamed at Rob that his building was coming down in front of him.
Why am I more angry than you? It's not my $400,000. I can't help him if he stands here and doesn't give a
I don't blame you.
Somebody better talk to him because he has to be different for me to help you. Understand that?
Yeah.
Desperately trying to force the dumbfounded owner to actually show some passion for his failing business. After forcing a massive extermination and deep clean, Jon successfully transformed the disgusting dive into the airy, clean Tidal Bay Beach Bar.
Look at this bar, you guys. This is beautiful.
The relaunch brought in a great crowd, giving Rob a fresh start at a pest-free building.
Welcome to Tidal Bay!
Hi, baby. How are you?
Weekender, title ticket.
However, keeping a bar open requires more than just a clean building. It requires basic management, which Rob still couldn't do. While the ant infestation was gone, Rob failed to maintain the administrative side of the business and completely neglected his state paperwork. Because he couldn't handle the administrative needs of the bar, its license was suspended by the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control for failing to comply with a request to examine its books and records. Unable to legally sell alcohol, Tidal Bay Beach Bar was forced to close its doors for good. Unlike Liquid Lounge, which failed because the owner couldn't handle basic paperwork, the next bar on our list failed because the location itself became completely cursed. Fairways Golf and Grill was a golf-themed bar in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, owned by Richard Jordan, who opened the business hoping to attract fellow golf lovers with a golf simulator. Unfortunately, it wasn't a hit in the community. Because Richard completely checked out of his management duties, he allowed his employees, especially his so-called trained chef, Kevin, to run the kitchen however they pleased without any real rules or discipline. And because of the awful management, the bar was losing losing around $7,000 a month, leaving him more than $150,000 in debt and desperate for Jon Taffer's help. So when Jon and his experts arrived, they quickly realized the golf theme was entirely wrong for a college town. But things took a horrific turn during their recon to the kitchen.
The reason why I wanted you to come here is because I think this might be the worst kitchen I've ever seen. Open ceiling. Look at the bugs.
Disgusting.
Now this is the grease off of here.
What owner makes their employees work in these conditions?
Jon watched in total shock as Chef Kevin cross-contaminated raw bacon and cooked without gloves.
Clearly has raw product, raw pork, mind you. What raw food is he touching now?
But the absolute worst discovery came when Jon stepped inside the walk-in cooler. Inside, Jon was completely disgusted to find literal mushrooms and thick black mold growing directly on the walls right next to where the food was stored.
Look at the mold all over the floor.
There's 3 significant areas of mold.
Oh!
This isn't healthy for you.
Get out of here! Get out!
What's this walk-in? Oh, me.
No way!
This is a forest.
Oh!
Dude, you got mushrooms growing in your walk-in.
Spores.
Furious at the severe health hazards, Jon stormed out of the kitchen, grabbed a plate of food from the bar, and violently threw it to the floor, screaming that nobody should ever eat their food.
This place is dangerous, for Christ's sakes! Nobody eats this frickin' food!
After forcing Richard to finally step up and fire his dangerous chef,
Kevin, you're fired.
Jon brought in a professional hazmat team to gut the mold-infested kitchen, completely rebranding the business into Brew U with a fresh college-centric theme.
1, 2, 3!
On reopening night, the crowd loved the new vibe, and it seemed like the bar was finally heading in the right direction. However, that success didn't last, and the bar quietly shut its doors for good shortly after. According to a cryptic December 2014 Facebook post, Brew U was closing its doors. In the comments of that post, the Brew U owner blamed the location, saying their lease had expired and they could no longer keep the doors open in that horrible location. With debt and a lease issue, it's no surprise that Brew U closed. While Fairways Golf and Grill failed because it couldn't outrun its past, the next bar on this list failed because the owners actively sabotaged their own rescue. Why Not Sports Pub and Grub was a local sports bar located in Everett, Washington, and owned by a longtime couple, Yvette Otto and John Ellis. Yvette had worked in the bar business for 17 years, starting as a cocktail waitress.
I started as a cocktail waitress, and I just kind of worked my way up. I've been in the bar business like 17 years, and I wanted to work for myself.
And eventually worked her way up to buying her own bar with her boyfriend John, who worked a full-time job just to help fund the struggling business. However, things quickly went downhill as the bar was losing close to $3,000 a month, putting them over $155,000 in debt with their house on the line.
We've got a net loss of a little over $155,000. So we've got a lot at stake. It could be my house.
This was mostly due to the staff being entirely out of control.
If you don't work here, we're not. You gotta leave.
They think you're friends.
They don't do it anymore. They don't like this bar.
And instead of managing the business properly, Yvette and the staff focused their energy on ridiculous gimmicks like indoor goldfish racing down a plastic gutter, leaving the bar struggling badly and desperately in need of Jon Taffer's help. So when Jon and his team arrived, things went from bad to worse. During the recon, the kitchen completely collapsed, and they were caught handling raw chicken with their bare hands.
Okay.
Raw chicken with no gloves.
The situation only grew more dangerous when Jon inspected the kitchen himself and found a pool of dripping grease.
There's a pool of grease back here. Did you look back there?
No, I haven't seen it. No, I don't know. I'll
go look in this corner.
Oh my.
And a hollow residential bedroom door being used for the walk-in cooler.
What is this?
It is the walk-in door.
This is a residential door. I want to knock and see if somebody's home.
leaving the food at an incredibly unsafe temperature. To try and save the bar, Jon gave them a massive overhaul, completely dropping the state sports theme and rebranding into an upscale Asian fusion concept called the Forbidden Pub, designed to attract the nearby arena crowd. Sadly, the rescue didn't work out because Yvette and Jon absolutely hated the new name, among other things. Almost immediately after the cameras left, they placed their old signs right back over the new branding and completely reverted to their old menu. Unfortunately, the rebrand couldn't do much for their luck, and eventually, the financial burden became too much to bear. By August 2017, the business had completely collapsed, forcing them to liquidate their assets to cover the debt. Why Not Sports Pub failed because the owners actively sabotaged the rescue. The next bar, however, failed because the owner blatantly ignored public health and safety. The Dugout, a sports bar located in the heart of Wrigleyville in Chicago, Illinois, was owned by Ed Cressy, who had originally owned the building for 17 years but was forced to take over the bar business after a previous tenant failed to pay the rent.
He owns the building. He had a tenant who leased the bar from him, and the guy didn't pay rent, so he took the bar back. So now you have yourself a reluctant bar owner.
Because of its prime location, the area saw massive foot traffic during baseball season. However, Ed has zero bar or restaurant experience and made it very clear that running the business was a massive burden to him.
It's not my life stream to own or run a bar. I can think of 100 things I'd rather do than run this bar.
Because of his terrible attitude,
Ed, do you know what's happening with the computers?
No clue. So there's
lack of management and the fact that he was constantly drinking on the job, the bar would completely die the moment baseball season ended. To make matters worse, the staff grew incredibly frustrated with Ed's lazy leadership.
I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about right now! I'm talking about when I was running your bar and I asked what the sales were from last winter. You couldn't tell me.
And especially with his insistence on pushing a highly inappropriate signature drink called the Hot Pussy Shot.
Ed has his signature shot that he created. Hot pussy! And it's disgusting.
When Jon Taffer and his experts arrived, they were absolutely horrified by what they found.
I'd shake your hands, but I've watched how you cook tonight, so I don't want to do that if you don't mind. I'm one of Jon's experts. We've been watching you from the SUV, and I've got to ask, would you eat out of this oil? You got to understand that you literally have mold on the side. You have disgusting grease that you're cooking food in.
The bar was filthy, and the space was suffering from a severe fruit fly infestation. The kitchen, run by Ed himself, completely collapsed. They were caught touching raw chicken without gloves, and the fryer started smoking from severely burnt, contaminated oil. Through it all, Ed showed absolutely no emotion.
I mean, are you pretty much just like, don't give a level is like right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stubbornly sitting at the bar and refusing to speak to customers or help his staff while they scrambled.
This guy won't talk to his customers. He won't talk to Phil. Won't talk to Ryan. Let's see if he talks to me.
His apathy was so disrespectful that Jon originally refused to remodel the bar for him.
I've never worked with an owner like Ed. If he doesn't embrace his own future, he's not going to have one.
However, out of respect for the hardworking staff who wanted to succeed, Jon decided to move forward. He completely gutted the space and rebranded it into a historic 1920s-style sports pub called the Press Box.
I like this.
It's a lot more sleek, it's a lot more clean. It's unfortunate that Ed's getting it, but it's awesome.
And everything's a sports bar here.
Sadly, the rescue was short-lived, as Ed arrived at the opening drunk.
Jon, my God! How are you?
You're drunk, aren't you?
No, not at all.
I can tell by the way he's acting.
I can smell it from here.
And right there on camera, all three bartenders had quit to work at other local bars.
Tell him what you want to do, guys.
I quit.
Eventually, Ed abandoned Jon's concept completely and reverted the name to the Dugout. But his reckless management finally caught up to him during the 2020 pandemic when he flagrantly violated lockdown mandates by hosting a shoulder-to-shoulder New Year's Eve party. As a result, the city's Department of Business Affairs stepped in and shut down the bar indefinitely, following a massive crackdown on public health violations, officially ending the run of the disgraced Wrigleyville dive. But while the Dugout met its end due to its owner's reckless behavior, the next bar actually survived its rescue, only to face a completely different kind of destruction. Dimples was a Hollywood-themed karaoke bar located in Burbank, California, owned by Sal Ferraro. Sal originally opened the bar in 1982 after discovering a small singing machine at a Hollywood party, claiming Dimples to be America's first ever karaoke bar. At its peak, the bar was a massive success, attracting huge celebrities like Katy Perry and making an absolute fortune.
Katy Perry, David Spade. We were making $85,000 a month, piece of cake.
However, as the years went by, Sal began hoarding random Hollywood memorabilia, turning the once famous spot into a cluttered, dusty museum that took up a third of the bar's square footage. To make matters worse, he refused to update his ancient 8-track karaoke machine.
I am trying to fight through equipment that doesn't work and make people sound good.
And his highly inappropriate, creepy behavior toward female customers began driving people away.
Female customers heading for the door.
I don't like when Sal is doing the dog shot, especially if it's a table that I'm serving.
Want to make sure you get laid tonight.
Leaving the bar struggling badly and giving Sal a massive $250,000 debt.
I'm about $250,000 in debt.
So when Jon Taffer arrived, things quickly spiraled out of control. During his inspection at the kitchen, Jon caught the cook, Roberto, handling both the raw pork and the onions with his bare hands, creating a massive cross-contamination and health hazard.
Oh, at least we're gonna cook our bacon.
You know what this guy's doing?
Right after he touched the raw bacon, there's our onion. It's
Now the raw
contamination.
is on a cutting board. Bingo, health violation. There we go. There's the patties.
No, it's frozen.
Things reached a terrifying boiling point during the stress test. The outdated karaoke system failed,
The sound system inside that place has not been updated since the 80s. I have no idea how that man can push any sound out of that thing. You hear the static in the back room.
and the pressure became so intense that the head cook, Roberto, suffered a severe medical emergency, forcing them to call 911 and shut the test down.
Put your hand. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Just relax. You're fine. You're fine. No. Take a breath. Just take a breath. We need to call 911.
Knowing that they needed a total reset, Jon took matters into his own hands and had his team pack up all of Sal's Hollywood memorabilia overnight.
The hell is that?
He then completely upgraded the bar, was eventually acquired for a massive corporate real estate development project.
All of a sudden I get this notice, it's 60 days, you have to vacate. The whole couple of blocks have been bought. The owner has decided to tear it down and build a big apartment complex, and I've got nothing to say.
Despite its legendary history and the successful turnaround, the building was permanently closed and completely demolished by bulldozers, wiping America's first karaoke bar off the map for good. While Dimples was destroyed by corporate bulldozers, the next bar on this list met an even more sudden and explosive end. Jack's Place was a dive bar located in Las Vegas, Nevada, owned by Corinne Vaughn, a former preschool teacher who started bartending at the establishment in 1997 to make extra money. The bar itself had a rich history, originally opened in 1980 by a Nevada state senator named Jack Reagan. When the senator passed away, Corinne bought the bar from his estate in 2008, hoping to keep the local hangout alive.
When Jack was ready to retire, I wanted the bar to keep going. I had made a lot of friends here. I loved Jack's Place, and I bought the bar.
However, despite its legacy, the bar was stuck in the past, and its loyal customer base was literally dying off. To make matters worse, Corinne ran the business like a mother rather than a boss.
As she tried to run her business.
Corinne treats everybody like they're her kids.
When I train the bartenders, I tell them it's their house and they're in charge because they're responsible for everything they do.
Her staff affectionately called her mom, but they showed her zero respect, doing whatever they wanted, which included acting wildly out of control, throwing things around the bar, and even chugging alcohol on the job. Because of this complete lack of discipline, Corinne hadn't taken a paycheck in 7 years. She lost her home and was drowning in over $500,000 of debt.
As a result of me not taking paychecks for 7 years, I lost absolutely every one of my assets, including my home that I raised my children in. I fight with my husband. It's destroying my health. I'm exhausted.
Leaving her desperate for Jon Taffer's help. When Jon and his experts arrived, they immediately witnessed the chaos. During recon, the bartender was recklessly flipping bottles to show off, failing spectacularly each time.
Except for when he breaks a bottle and the glass goes into the ice chip.
Things boiled over when Jon Taffer walked in and confronted Corrine, brutally pointing out that her motherly management style was destroying her life and enabling her staff's terrible behavior.
Not all the time.
You want to run a business, act like a businesswoman, not a mom.
I don't want him to be a prick in front of my customers.
You just don't do anything about it.
Okay.
You step up, act like an owner, and I'll come back and help your bar.
After a disastrous stress test where the staff completely fell apart, Corrine finally stepped up, laid some ground rules with her disrespectful employees, and took control of her business.
But I need to check Mom at the door. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm now going to lay out rules, and we're laying out boundaries, and we're laying out job delegations, who's responsible for what.
To give the bar a fresh start and honor its founder, Jon completely remodeled the dive and rebranded it as the Reagan Lounge. The new design was a massive upgrade, giving the bar a bright and contemporary feel, and the relaunch night was a huge success, leaving the staff and Corrine feeling hopeful for the future.
I'm proud of you.
Anybody want some mules? One? Anybody else? No time to be mom tonight. It's crazy busy. It's new systems, new drinks, new menus, and it's a new era. It's a beautiful new era.
For a short time, the rescue seemed like a total triumph, but in a heartbreaking twist of fate, just months after the episode premiered on TV, a catastrophic fire broke out in the building's attic.
On the TV show, Bar Rescue goes up in flames. Reagan Lounge on the east side of town was gutted overnight in a huge fire. News 3's Kelsey Thomas live outside that bar near Nellis and Bonanza with our first look at the damage.
The massive blaze completely obliterated the newly renovated bar, causing over $500,000 in damage. Because the destruction was so severe, the Reagan Lounge was forced to close its doors permanently. Jack's Place proved that even the most successful rescues can be undone by a stroke of terrible luck. But while Corrine lost her bar to a tragic accident, the next owners on this list deliberately destroyed their own second chance. Brothers on Main was a local bar in St. Clair, Missouri, owned by brothers David and Daniel Holmes, who opened the business together in 2021 after Daniel sold his house to fund their dream. At first, the 50-50 partnership worked, with Daniel managing the front of the house and David running the kitchen. But just a year and a half later, their relationship completely broke down. Following a massive argument, David walked out and stopped working entirely, leaving Daniel to run the struggling bar alone.
Wow. But still is technically an owner. And the crazy thing is they have not spoken now for 4 months.
By the time Jason Santos, one of Jon's experts, arrived, the brothers hadn't spoken in 4 months. The bar was losing $5,000 a month, and they were a staggering $150,000 in debt. During recon, things proved to be just as toxic inside the bar. The kitchen was dangerously filthy, with a smoking fryer posing a serious fire hazard, and the back of the house staff was even caught serving raw chicken to customers. Furious, Jason shut the bar down and forced the brothers to finally confront their issues.
I asked you guys to talk and figure out your issues last night, and clearly you didn't do that. And honestly, until you cut the shit and figure out the real problem, and I know you guys know the problem, I'm done, okay? I'll go on to the next one. I don't have time for this.
After a tearful reunion and a promise to work as a team,
I love you too, bro.
Just give him a hug.
I think they're right, you know? Maybe I do need to take a step back.
Jason transformed the failing dive bar into the Blue Velvet, an upscale cocktail lounge and kitchen. The new concept was a massive upgrade, and on relaunch night, the bar was packed. It seemed like the brothers had finally buried the hatchet and saved their business. However, the reunion didn't last. Almost immediately after the cameras stopped rolling, David and Daniel resumed their bitter infighting, abandoning the fresh start Jason had just given them. The tension became so toxic that they permanently closed the Blue Velvet just a few months later, 5 months before their episode even aired on TV. To make matters worse, they immediately listed the building for sale, shamelessly using Jon Taffer's expensive renovations as a major selling point to cash out. The Holmes brothers threw away the rescue out of greed and spite. The final bar on this list, however, met its end in the most horrific and tragic way imaginable. Boondocks was a live country music and barbecue dive bar in Nashville, Tennessee, owned by Chris Farrell, a former musician who used over $100,000 of his parents' retirement savings to open the business.
This is a guy who took $105,000 from his parents. This guy has enough money to make it 2 more weeks.
However, the bar was a complete disaster, losing $10,000 a month, mostly because Chris had an explosive and toxic temper, constantly screaming at his staff and completely alienating his customers.
And I don't want it to fail.
I'm sick of you implying that I wasn't telling the truth.
Leaving the business just weeks away from total failure and forcing him to call Jon Taffer for help. When Jon and his experts arrived, they were absolutely disgusted by what they found. Not only was the kitchen storing meat at dangerously unsafe temperatures,
99. We got it.
No, that should be way above.
But it's not. Now, let's keep going. What's the temperature of the ribs, chef?
We're about 100 on these, man.
but the entire bar was severely infested with rat droppings and dead fruit flies floating directly inside the liquor bottles. Things reached a boiling point when Jon confronted Chris about the disgusting conditions, leading Chris to throw a massive temper tantrum, aggressively cursing and throwing things around.
Done talking about it.
Despite Chris's terrible attitude, Jon sat him down with his parents to force a harsh reality check, making Chris promise to drop his aggressive behavior and become a real leader.
Thank you, Mom.
Oh, you're welcome.
I love you.
I love you too.
I am watching a serious human transformation. Now I need to get the staff ready for relaunch.
With the promise of change, Jon completely overhauled the failing dive, bringing in a massive new outdoor smoker, upgrading their systems, and rebranding the business into Pit and Barrel. The relaunch night was a massive success, packed with happy customers enjoying the new food and atmosphere. It finally seemed like Chris had turned his life around, with Jon even stating that he had never felt better about a rescue. However, in a horrifying turn of events, the story ended in absolute tragedy. Just weeks before the episode was even set to air on television, Chris got into a heated argument with a customer, country musician Wayne Mills, over the bar's smoking policy. The argument quickly escalated, and Chris fatally shot Wayne inside the newly renovated bar, later claiming self-defense. Because of the horrific incident, Chris was arrested and eventually found guilty of second-degree murder, receiving a 20-year prison sentence. Pit and Barrel was immediately shut down forever, transforming from a bar rescue success story into an active crime scene, and marking the darkest and most tragic ending in the show's entire history.